Hey guys, what's going on? So today, as you could probably tell, is going to be a very different type of video. And the reason I made this video is just to share some more about myself to you guys and maybe answer some questions that you've been thinking about. Like I see on videos and posts and stuff, I'll see comments like, oh man, like, oh, you really missed out on doing this, or where have you been, or why don't you upload videos more often, or, what's the deal here? And so I want to take an opportunity to share all that with you guys. And the truth is, I don't live and work in Maryland all the time on my family's dairy farm. I actually work in a neighboring state, live about 2 hours away, and I'm working for a prominent ag lender here in the area. And the truth is, when you see my YouTube videos, it's just based off of my availability when I'm not at work. So, usually that's on the weekends, going up and helping my family, and it's something I love to do. But, knowing this, if you want to call me a weekend farmer, a hobby farmer, um, stuff I've all heard before. And if that's something you don't believe in, if you think this makes me a fraud, fake, or whatever, then I encourage you to unsubscribe from the channel. When I was in college, I really had to start thinking about my career path and what that was going to look like. And when my dad and his generation, being my dad and my uncle, when they were growing up, that was an era where it was a lot more common to go back to the farm right after graduation. There would be a spot for you there, and you'd be set for the rest of your life. And that's what they've done. They've made a career out of that from the day they graduated college, and they've done a great job. And um, I'm here to say that things in today's generation are a little different. And so when I was going through college, I had to figure out what would be the best course of action. And it's, totally acceptable. And a lot of people still do it to go back to their family operation today. But if you know a little bit about our farm, you can probably tell it's a relatively smaller herd of cows. And between that and with the land we farm, I know that there was only the capability of the farm to really provide for two families. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just not a 1,000 cow dairy that can afford to employ 20 plus employees. And so I came to the realization that it would maybe be best to look for an off farm job coming out of college and explore different career opportunities that I was being exposed to in college. And I went through a lot of different ideas, thought I wanted to work in a couple different areas. And it turns out I had a professor who specializes in finance. He even had some as specific as dairy financial courses. And he just really got me hooked on those. And he hooked me up with the job I have, the job I got out of college. And it's funny because I think about Billy Currington's song, Really Good at Drinking Beer, and one of the lines is theirs, I'm not the type to work at a bank. And, here I am working at a bank, and I never would have pictured myself in this position. But, I mean, none of this could have been possible without having the conversation with my family and their openness and willingness to say, you don't have to come back here right away. We're not going to force you. And it's a family to family thing, and it's a very sensitive topic. And there may be families out there where either the parent is next to forcing the next generation to come back and take it over, or the sense of obligation to have to return to the farm. And in essence, you're essentially marrying yourself to that job from the day you graduate college. But I was never faced by that with my family, and I'm incredibly appreciative of that. He said, if you want to work in ag finance, by all means, please, the farm will always be here. This is something you're always going to have the opportunity to come back to. And so I took advantage of that. And I can honestly say that, through the few years that I've been at my job, I've really enjoyed it so far. It gives me a chance to develop new skills and bring something back to the farm that, makes me specialized in the sense of working at the bank has taught me, financial principles and record keeping that will allow us as a family to make more informed financial decisions on a regular basis so that when it does come time to borrow money, we can make ourselves an attractive credit in the sense that we know what's going on. We have a good idea of our financial position. And, because of that, as long as the performance is well, we can leverage ourselves in a point where we can get favorable financing options. And even though I work away from home most of the time, I can still feel more connected to the farm and contribute in the sense that I've been taking over managing the bookkeeping and financial tracking of the farm. And it's something that, I already do at work. For most people, it's something that's done on a yearly basis, where we're trying to do it on a more regular basis, get those financials updated monthly, but it still allows me to contribute and feel welcome. So that's a whole nother perspective I have between my job and my farm. But at my job too, it allows me to work outside of just the dairy industry, get familiar with poultry, cattle, crops. I feel like that makes me a little more multifaceted and have an understanding more broadly of the agricultural markets and how they work with one another. And frankly, the job gives me the opportunity to see, what are the successful people doing well, and, people who haven't had as much success, like what has put them in that position and how can you help them. Ultimately, that's given me a lot more critical thinking capabilities, how to approach situations, and it's really just sharpened me up. But I'd say probably the best part is working with people who have the same passions as you. Like a lot of our agricultural lending staff either currently farms still, has that farming background, and is very closely connected to the agricultural community. Ultimately, if things go well, I want to help the bank that I'm working at by expanding their agricultural lending presence back into my home area in Maryland. And that would open up the door to a lot more opportunities. I could be able to keep my job while at the same time providing more for the farm back at home on a more consistent basis. I could wake up, feed cows in the morning, go to work, come back, and finish up whatever chores are at the evening. And to me, that would just be fantastic, because I feel like I could harness the best of both worlds in that case. Because like I said earlier, the farm, we're not expanding, we're not adding anything value added. There's no drastic increase in farm revenue that would allow me to come back without hurting the farm income or the income of my family by having another source drawing money out for the labor that they've provided. My ag finance professor from college has a simple rule. He said for every person you want to add back to the farm, manager position or something, you have to generate another $250,000 of revenue over the course of the year, and you figure $200,000 in operating expenses and then $50,000 to pay yourself. And we don't have a simple solution for that, and there is no simple solution necessarily, because there is risk associated with strategies like expansion and value added. And so in a sense where I would be able to keep my job and contribute to the farm on a part-time basis, that really eliminates some of that risk, having that security in my job, but still being able to contribute to the family. Around the time I graduated from college, shortly after, my great uncle had passed away, and he was one of the founding patriarchs of the farm, along with my grandfather. A full passing of the torch, I should say, to now where my dad and uncle are the managers of the farm. Not to suggest that transition planning was only done upon his passing, because that is something that I've learned happens in this agricultural business. But, now it's kind of a new chapter for us and for our farm. And I constantly spend time thinking about, how can I come up with a way? Because here's another thing that happens. You have family A and family B who operate the farm in partnership, and then each of those family has kids. And now you're looking at the next generation where the farm's the same size, but instead of, two managers, now you have four potential managers in the next generation for a farm that is still the same size. And, personally for me, it gave me that feeling of, am I going to be able to come back? Am I going to be welcome back? I know my family loves me. That's nothing to do with that. But the logistics of this farm, going back to this farm, can only support, this many households, can only put so much food on a number of plates. And, I have fever dreams, or whatever you want to call it, about scheming ideas to allow the next generation to all be able to contribute if they want to, without damaging farm income from what it would cost to cover our living expenses for even more people on the same size farm. And it's something I think about a lot. It's something I care about, and that's because I think there should be an opportunity for all of us, if we want to come back. And it's because we care. So I've talked about my job and how much I like it and enjoy it, but at the same time, there's this feeling of insecurity inside of me because I'm here and I'm not there helping my family. And there has been, since in the previous years, now that all of us kids have either gone off to or graduated from college, that coupled, with the passing of the first generation on the dairy farm, it has kind of, tightened up the labor a little bit. It's enough to where they can get by, but at the same time, you have to think about quality of life and what makes you happy. We don't have any outside employees or anything, so a lot of the time when I'm up at the farm shooting footage, it's twofold in the sense that I can make content for this channel, but at the same time, I want to take some weight off of my family's shoulders because, they're twice a day, every day, milking and taking care of anything that runs around there. Then I get done for the weekend and I come back down here and I get plagued with this sense of insecurity, right? I know that my family said, do what you need to do and the farm will always be here. And that is incredibly selfless and I'm so thankful for it. But I get plagued with insecurity, like things are tight back there in terms of labor availability with just what comes to the family because we don't think we're in the position where we need to hire someone and incur that additional expense. I think I could be contributing up there and making life easier for everyone. I go back home and I see people outside the farm, and a lot of the people are, very supportive of what I'm doing, like to hear what I'm doing, but there are also those people out there who have the notion that what I'm doing isn't right, or that, it just kind of makes me a hobby farmer, a weekend farmer, to have my office job or whatever you want to call it, and just help out my family with what I can. And it makes me feel selfish, even though I know I'm doing what my family told me to do. And that conflict inside my head, it hurts a lot. And I know that I'm not alone. I know this is something that is a struggle in farm transition planning that a lot of families end up dealing with. And, maybe there's some sort of moral victory to be had there knowing that I'm not alone, but it still affects me. Especially, so much of my passion is held in, finance and financial decision making, and all too often farmers can have a tendency to make emotional decisions. And that's not to say that emotional decision making is wrong, but I think it is wrong when you can't back it up with something that's also a financial decision. If you want to buy the neighboring parcel of land because you see it's up for sale and wow, it'd be real convenient to adjoin to my farm, and man, when am I going to get the opportunity again? That's something to be happy about and supportive of. But if you don't have a plan in place to make sure that it's going to work financially, then you're just shooting yourself in the foot. You're taking what could be a great opportunity and you're letting your emotions override that and not make it something that's going to be prosperous for your farming enterprise. And that's where I really struggle with, because I feel like I'm met at the same crossroads here with someone who believes in financial and sound numerical decision making, but yet is faced with, some of the emotional conflict, with just wanting to be able to get back to my family's farm, wanting to be able to have my job to go with it that can, support my lifestyle, and really work to build on what my family has spent tireless decades creating. And it's something I care about a lot. So enough talking about all of the negative things, and I want to talk more about the positive now. So now that I've gotten everything out in the open, this YouTube channel, I can't say you guys should expect weekly uploads from me. If I was home doing this all the time, I would love it and I would have no problem doing uploads 2 or 3 times a week. I've had a lot of fun with the videos I've made thus far, and it's not something that's really expanded my YouTube channel much. It's not something that's made me any money, and maybe that's why a lot of YouTubers are after. And I'd be lying if I said it's something I wouldn't enjoy either. The reality is that there will be content up here every now and again, but even when I go home for a weekend, I might end up making multiple videos over the course of a weekend and just uploading them sequentially. I've done that in the past, but I just wanted to put it out there that that's my situation, and if you care to support me, please continue doing that. If you don't, then I understand. For those of you who aren't from a farming background, farm transition planning can be one of the best tools and one of the most hurtful tools if not used correctly. Could be a make or break thing from generation to generation, and I'm hoping that it's something that can be great in continuing the future of our farm, and whatever that may hold for me, I look forward to it. So for now, I'm signing off. Hope to bring you guys a lot more videos to enjoy for the future. And if you made it this far, thanks for listening to some of my story. Take care, guys.